In tonight's Dateline Defense, new provocations from North Korea. On Sunday, the Hermit Kingdom launched a long-range rocket, part of what it calls a peaceful space program. The U.S., Japan, and South Korea tracked the rocket. No damage was reported, but NORAD confirms North Korea's new satellite passed over the Superbowl about an hour after the game ended. The UN Security Council calls the launch an intolerable provocation. How will they react? For more, I'm joined by Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer. He's a CIA-trained senior intelligence operations officer, best-selling author, and senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research.
Hey, Morris.
Tony, North Korea calls this a peaceful space program.
Right. But
governments around the world say the launch was cover for long-range ballistic missile technology.
Yeah, if you believe this is peaceful, Morris, I have some really nice sandy beach territory in Antarctica I'd like to sell you.
Well, what kind of testing are they, what is this going to show?
This is exactly what they need to test regarding the launch and successful targeting of an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile. And that's one of the things that we've been concerned about for the past 10 years, Morris, is the fact that when you see their nuclear blasts, they're not going for these large city-killing blasts. They're going for these smaller aperture weapons. The reason they're going for the smaller weapons, Morris, is because you have to have a small weapon that can fit on top of a missile to be effectively launched across the Pacific. So
could they do an EMP attack? We've talked about this in the past.
As a matter of fact, this is exactly what they would have to have. They have to have some launch platform that can clear essentially the orbital requirement. It has to get into orbit so they can cross across the planet. So anything suborbital is not adequate. So in this case, they could put it up. They could put it virtually anywhere on the planet. That includes the United States. And with an EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon, you don't even have to get it on the ground. You can just get it essentially like a hand grenade. You get it within proximity. An EMP weapon going off over, say, Chicago could take out the entire Midwest. So this is no small issue.
It could disrupt banking, telecommunications,
everything.
The internet.
Life as we know it.
Exactly. All right. Initially, some officials thought this was a failed launch because South Korea detected a rain of fragments in the first stage of launch. Now they think the rocket had a cagey new feature. It was deliberately rigged to blow up after separation to confuse foreign analysts. Tell us more.
The North Koreans are renowned for studying our intelligence system. During the past 30 years, Morris, the North Koreans successfully would actually raise and lower alerts on the South because they knew what the trip elements were. So they would push the button, make us react, and do the dance. This is what they did here. They've actually studied how we study the telemetry of a missile launch, and they did it in such a way to say, ha, we fooled you again. So that's where we have to understand that these people watch everything we do, everything we say. And so the moment they understand something, they're going to change it just to make our job more difficult. This is a perfect example of that very thing.
Now, in the past, this has sort of been a North Korean shakedown. We pay them off, they stop, they act nice. It seems like nothing we do is working now. Can we pay them to stop doing this?
Absolutely, and they'll come back and start doing it in 3 years again.
Yeah.
We've seen them give up, quote unquote, give up or shut down the nuclear program by my count 4 different times now. And each time they've been rewarded handsomely. Each time they come up with some provocation to say, you broke the agreement, we have to go back and do it again. And frankly, that's the pattern we see here. It's called brinksmanship, Morris, and they are masters at it. They walk right up to that line and say, we want something, we give it to them, and then they cross the line and we give them something again. It's very consistent.
Now, earlier I mentioned condemnation from the UN Security Council. Where is China in all of this? They're probably the only country with diplomatic influence inside North Korea.
China is clearly an enabler. If it wasn't for the Chinese, the North Koreans would not exist as a state for any number of reasons. They see benefit, that is the Chinese see benefit of having the North Koreans as a problem child because, frankly, you know, it gives them leverage over the rest of the Pacific Rim by having someone like Korea.
It's an irritant. It's like their little bulldog.
Exactly. And with that said, though, the bulldog could always get off its leash, and I think that's one of the things we've been able to somewhat use with the Chinese to rein back in the North Koreans. With that said, clearly, the Chinese have a vested interest in maintaining some level of stability within the region. The North Koreans always look to the Chinese to help them out when something goes wrong. So it's one of those things. It's a marriage of convenience. Some elements of the marriage are good, some are bad, but it works out for the two sides.
How do you expect the U.S. and other world powers to react?
Well, for our side right now, the policy is going to be muddled as it has been by every administration, both Democrat and Republican, for the past 20 years. Morris, look, the primary objective of the North Korean regime is regime survival. Each one of our administrations have failed to understand that and give in to this constant demand for more stuff to stop their nuclear program. I see the same thing happening here. I don't see any difference of that. And frankly, we're going to go in, we're going to ask them to stop doing stuff that they're doing, we'll pay them some money, and they'll start all again, a cycle start start again in about 3 years.
We need a good Stuxnet virus inside their weaponry system,
Right.
inside their bomb-making capabilities.
Well,
that would
help.
just a way to get in there.
Well, Morris, that's part of the issue right now. Now that the Iranians are being fully funded, we know that a lot of money is going to be shifted from the Iranians over the North Koreans for both missile research as well as nuclear technology research. So anything we do now is a moot point by the fact that the Iranians are going to fund what they see now as a successful launch of a weapon, of a satellite into orbit. That's a big indicator. They're going to pay for that. And the nuclear program, this hydrogen bomb that we talked about several weeks ago.
Right.
So it's like the North Koreans are doing great marketing. This is perfect marketing to bring in rogue states like the Iranians. So why would the Iranians continue with the nuclear program if they can just outsource it to the North Koreans?
It's true. Real quick before you go, I'd
Sure.
like to talk a little psychology here.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-un named this satellite Shining Star, a reference to his late father, Kim Jong-il. The only reaction we've seen from North Koreans was from state TV,
Right.
so it's tough to tell how they view this launch. Can you give us any insight here? Would the average North Korean see this as a provocation or a cause for national pride? They're so brainwashed, they probably take pride in this.
Let me tell you, Morris, the North Koreans still run on state TV films from the 1950s.
Yeah.
They portray the South Koreans as completely feckless, completely behind the technology, that the North Koreans are the ones with everything great. So the bottom line is the people in North Korea are going to believe whatever the state tells them to believe. And in this case, they're going to be told that the great leader did a magnificent thing with this rocket and that they are the ones leading the world in this technology. We all know that's completely false, but the North Korean people are a hostage people. It's a hermit kingdom, and I feel sorry for every North Korean, and I wish them freedom for someday.
You got that right, I do too. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shaffer, Senior Fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Morris.